Big exciting news this afternoon as the president raises his offer from this morning, which raised his offer from last night. If you're keeping track of this, we're up to 2 raises in less than 8 hours of 2 shows. Incredible, great news. I had to go to the casino. I mean, I really had to go to the casino. And there was Sir Lloyd, and I said, hey, we have movement. You have movement? I'm like, yeah, we have movement. Mnuchin raised his offer yet again this morning from last night. Yesterday, he raised it for the day before, and now the president says he's ready to raise the offer again even further. That's why we call him Mnuchin. I'm like, no, his name is Mnuchin, not Mnuchin. Mnuchin, here's the movement, here's the moolah, he gives you stimulus. I'm like, no, his name is Mnuchin. He's Treasury Secretary to Donald Trump. He's responsible for getting our stimulus checks and stimulus packages. No, his name is Mnuchin. We know him in the herd as Mnuchin. He's a cow. He just doesn't tell you that he's actually a cow. He's not a cow, he's Treasury Secretary. He's a cow if you call him a cow who give you your stimulus. Okay, I'll call him a cow. Hey, good afternoon, everybody. I'm here, you are here, the cows are here, the dogs, the cats, the llamas, and there's incredible movement from Mnuchin about your stimulus. I mean, I'm literally getting... I'm literally getting dizzy because we're having raises of stimulus offers between recordings. I had one before early mornings, one before mornings, and now I have one before the afternoon. Incredible, great news. I'm so excited for you. We have worked so hard together. So go to the phone's channel, subscribe. Subscribe. We're not celebrating yet. We're subscribing for now. And also like this video. We're coming on a really exciting day for increased offers from the White House. There's literally an offer every single recording that I have for you. So in this recording, I'm going to be going over what the bigger offer was yesterday, what the bigger offer was this morning, what the bigger offer is this afternoon, and then I'll be going over what's going on with these negotiations daily. Then I'll be going over the issue of why Purple Power has been so instrumental in this. And I'll be going over the bigger checks, the bigger FPUC, the bigger money that could be coming to you, and the issue of timing. If you've not, make note to stay with me for the recording right after this, which is hazard pay, because in that, I will have details about why Walmart came out in favor for more stimulus, and CEOs are now saying, get the stimulus deal done. Then 30 minutes after that, I will be telling you about how you will be getting bigger SSDI, SSI, Social Security, and railroad benefits checks and veterans checks coming in the next couple weeks. That's breaking news. That's in the video after this, after that. Mnuchin versus Trump. Finally, you will be getting a tax break under the Biden administration, newly announced today. So that will be covered in that video as well. Finally, Pelosi versus Mnuchin. Boy, exciting news. You see, I have a lot of stuff here for you, so thank you for tuning in. The great news as we sit here today is offer raised, offer raised, offer raised. It just keeps on getting better. Where are we right now? Let's look back. First, yesterday we had a higher raised offer from Steve Mnuchin. It brought your stimulus checks up. It brought your FPUC up. It brought the coverages up. This morning we had a higher raised offer. It didn't change the amount of the checks, but it changed the overvalue of the deal. What Mnuchin said this morning is that, hey, we're raising more money for testing and tracing to get this done. We're not going to sit around and discuss these line items too much more. We're just going to raise these certain items, raise the language. She can do her own language. We're going to get it done. That was morning's LALATE. That was 28 this morning. Now this afternoon, we have yet another raise. The latest raise is coming from Donald Trump. And guess what he says? He says exactly what I've been telling you he would say for upwards of 4 months. I have been telling you for 4 months that the president would settle this deal at $2 trillion. And guess what the president said today? He said based upon the current $1.8 trillion, he's ready to go higher. He says, go big or go home. When asked about this in a Fox Business News interview this afternoon, Thursday afternoon, the president said, I would absolutely go higher than 1.8 trillion. This is categorically incredible. I would say more. I would go higher. Go big or go home. I said it yesterday. That was what he said to Fox News this afternoon. He is saying very clearly, we're going higher than 1.8. We're heading towards 2. This is just incredible, great news. I told you it's going to go to 2. I told you he's going to go to 2, and we're going to have a deal at 2 trillion. And I got to tell you, Temple Doom will get we'll get Temple Doom will get tarred and feather. She doesn't come to 2. It's just simple as that. Trump continued during the interview. He said, Nancy Pelosi doesn't want to give us anything. She thinks it helps her with the election. And I don't think so. This is Trump talking. I think it hurts her with the election because everyone knows she's holding it up. We're not holding it up. She's holding it up. I got to tell you, he's playing a very good card, the president. He's playing an excellent card. I told you that as soon as it got very clear the messaging that Nancy Pelosi is trying to give a Biden win by not giving you stimulus, it could backfire on her. And I told you Mnuchin needed to get out his numbers over the weekend. He did. I told you Mnuchin needed to do the press campaign. He did. He issued the news statement on Sunday. He appeared in 2 broadcast interviews in the last 8 hours. And now this. The president even took a swipe at Mnuchin, but it was, in all respect. He said, as to Mnuchin, so far he hasn't come home with the bacon. I wonder what Sirloin thinks about that joke. Mnuchin this morning says he's going higher. The issue isn't overblown. We've agreed to $178 billion for overall health. It's an extraordinary amount of money. We've agreed with the Democrats for $75 billion to go to testing, contact tracing. We've been focused on the language around testing, but what I'm going to tell Speaker Pelosi today is we're not going to focus on the language. We'll fundamentally agree with the testing language, and the issue is now done. Wow. So let me go over where we are on your numbers. Oh, my God, this is just incredible, great news. I can't. Let me breathe. Let's all breathe. Okay, the current stimulus package offered from Mnuchin is somewhere between 1.8 and 2. It's no longer at 1.8, but it's not yet at 2. Second, stimulus checks, $1,200 individuals, $2,400 married couples. SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits, veterans, and similar would all get a $1,200 check, a full stimulus check. This is incredibly great news. I don't care whether you're a dependent or not a dependent, and Steve Mnuchin doesn't care either. You're getting a full stimulus check. This is what happened yesterday. This is what happened the day before, that Steve Mnuchin said, enough already. It's not fair that we should be giving different checks based upon if you're a dependent or not a dependent, based upon whether you're on SSDI or not. You're an adult. All adults deserve $1,200. Let's get it done. All adults, $1,200. Simple, clear, done. Absolutely categorically incredible. Under the first stimulus package, you did not get a stimulus check at all if you were a dependent on someone else's tax return. And a lot of my viewers on SSDI, SSI, Social Security, railroad benefits did not get a stimulus check back in March because you're a dependent on someone else's tax return. This time around, all that nonsense is gone. You're getting a stimulus check. I was the first to tell you when I moved into the space because no one was recording videos for you. You'll get a check this time around. And you are. And in fact, the president's offer with Steve Mnuchin now above 1.8 is higher than the Temple Dooms. She's still at $500 for you. He's at $1,200. This is incredibly great news. Not taken out for child support, not taken out for back taxes, not taken out for debt collections. $2,400 for a married couple. It doesn't matter if you're on SSDI or SSI. All incredible great news. The routing times I'll give it to you in a second. Next, children, $1,000. Thank God, finally, no more of the silliness of $500. $1,000 check for children. Incredible. I'm just speechless. Nancy Pelosi wants to keep you at $500 because children going hungry, and under her bill, you'll still be going hungry. $500, she's lower. President is more generous. Now, this is, this is recording at 12:30 Pacific Standard Time. It's, maybe in an hour from now we'll get something changed again. Steve Mnuchin also has talked about multiple stimulus checks, as has the White House. There's no multiple stimulus checks in this package, But Steve Mnuchin has constantly said that the president would do multiple stimulus checks as warranted and would do multiple stimulus checks over time. So there is a likelihood of a third stimulus package in winter that would have another stimulus check from you from the White House. If you don't recall, the Problem Solvers bill has a second stimulus check, and the president endorsed the Problem Solvers bill but revised it. Now, Temple of Doom, of course, she does not have multiple stimulus checks. In fact, she doesn't like multiple stimulus checks. So this is why it's so incredibly great news. Next, routing times. Routing times. The minute this becomes law, the minute it becomes signed by executive order, the minute that it's pen to paper, count 10 days from there, and the check is in your hand if you're signed up for electronic receipt. My goodness, 10 days. Get it done. Get it done. This is so exciting. 10 days from the day at which it's signed. Now, if you're signed up for electronic receipt for SSDI, SSI, Social Security, Railroad benefits, 10 days because you're signed up for electronic. If you pay your taxes electronically or get your refunds electronically, 10 days. If you're a paper person, you love paper. I love paper. And you still do things paper, not electronically, then you would basically add an additional week. Bottom line is, you can get your stimulus check before you go to before election day if we get this done. If we get this done by executive order. Now, what's absolutely categorically incredible is that facet. Well, how about the bigger number? Well, we started yesterday at 1.8 or 1.78, I guess you would say. This morning we went higher. Steve Mnuchin says I'm going to give more money for testing and more money for contact tracing, because why are we not? We could spend a lot of money. We spend a lot of money. We're going to continue spending money. I'm not going to spend time on this. I'm going to give that exactly what the Democrats want. Amen. So we went higher. This afternoon, the president says, go even higher than that. That's not enough. Go higher. So the president is now pushing to 2, which I have always said you have a deal too. $2 trillion, you'll have a national revolt. You'll have protests across the country if the Temple of Doom does not accept 2. I'm just being very frank with you. I'm not, this is my opinion, but I'm just, you'll have a national revolt if she doesn't take 2 and she's at 2.2. She's going to hold out for $200 billion. No, it's just not going to happen. She'll agree to 2. What's happening at 2 is you're basically the same amount as CARES Act 1. You are double the Obama stimulus relief, upwards of 8 years ago. So you're at a very big number at $2 trillion. It's not a small number. It's not something so de minimis. What's important to say is that the president wants to go big and wants to get it done. Now, the next thing to consider is FPUC. Steve Mnuchin's higher. I want you to tune into the third video, 2 videos after this, in which I go over the FPUC more in detail. But Steve Mnuchin's giving you bigger FPUC. Thank God. Bigger FPUC, and it's retroactive to mid-September. So I understand we're in October. I understand this may not pass law or signed executive order for a couple days or a couple weeks or, however long it takes. You would still get retroactive. And what's great is Steve Mnuchin's going further into the future, so you get more weeks of benefits. My Lord, finally. Now, there's some things that always can be better, and ultimately we can't have everything we want. We would all like a $2,000 stimulus check. We would all like 6 checks. We would all like FPUC to be retroactive to late July. But in the scheme of things, we like money now, and ultimately we can't keep on holding out for a perfect environment. Perfect is never perfect. And ultimately, if you're 80 or 90% there, you do the deal. And let's do the deal. Now, what's important for Purple Power to understand as we start the afternoon is that you really have to take these videos, take this video, take the video after this, and start tagging all the elected officials to say, 1.8, deal, done it, do it. 2 trillion, do it, done it. I mean, holding out for 2.2, but don't want to do 2, don't want to do 1.9. Vote all those people out of Congress. I mean, that shows a lack of caring for the American people. Seats for stimulus, hashtag seats for stimulus, hashtag Purple Power, hashtag LALATE. Make it very clear that as the electorate, as Republicans and Democrats, you're not going to sit around for people holding out for an extra $200 billion because they want to give salary raises to people. This is incredibly great news. The important thing to understand next is the negotiations. What's important to understand is that the Temple of Doom and Steve Mnuchin are making movement daily because they're speaking about an hour a day. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot of time, but every day Steve Mnuchin's coming in with bigger numbers, bigger coverage, better relief. And ultimately, that's where the focus is. Now, you may be asking, well, how about Mitch? We're not focusing on Mitch. The president's not focusing on Mitch. I'm not focusing on Mitch. And it's worked. Broadcast media are not even reporting the fact that Mitch is doing something next week. It's as though it's not even occurring. So that's the incredible refocusing. That's how we refocus. And I talked about it yesterday all throughout yesterday's broadcast. And look at the success that we have reached. I said, focus on Mnuchin. Push Mnuchin. Push Trump to go higher. Get it done. Push executive orders. Ignore false narratives, and it's worked. If you don't know, if you missed early mornings LALATE, which I don't think you did because it was a big hit, and if you missed mornings LALATE or 28, which I don't think you did either because the viewership was absolutely through the roof, it's been an incredible 24 hours on this channel. Thank you so much. What I said is we need to stay focused. And I said no longer on this channel will I be running anyone's fake narratives. So if Nancy, Chuck, Steve, Donald, anyone, especially Larry, says anything just totally incorrect, I'm just not going to run it. And there has been a lot of incorrect stuff. There's been stuff by Steve that was incorrect last night on Lou Dobbs. I'm just not going to run it. It's just not true. The incredible great news, if you did not watch the earlier broadcast today, was that Steve Mnuchin has now revealed that there's upwards of about $800 billion sitting around from CARES Act 1, CARES Act 2, and CARES Act 3 that can be reallocated. What's important to understand is that there's a couple of CARES events or bills or laws, I guess you would say. You know, usually when I'm recording, I refer to CARES Act 1 as the March stimulus, the big one where they got to use stimulus checks. Well, there was two other CARES Act events that followed thereafter. They didn't concern you because they were for PPP. Those are the ones that they kept on doing more PPP. People didn't want it, and the money expired, and it just sat there. And so now we see in the statements from Mnuchin overnight and this morning on CNBC and last night on Lou Dobbs that there's about $800 billion sitting around. It's sitting around in PPP. It's sitting around in cargo and transport money that is not even in SBA. It's in the transportation department of the federal government. There is hundreds of millions of dollars sitting around from the first PPP and the third PPP. And so the total amount for executive orders is now $800 billion. Why did I bring this up? Well, we all understand purple power executive orders, but I also bring it up to explain to you how much stimulus you could be getting with $800 billion. Stimulus checks cost about $290 billion. So $300 billion is enough for one round stimulus check. So that's $1,200. Then, okay, you got 300, you got $500 billion left. What are we going to use the other $500 billion for? Well, some more stimulus checks, of course, but that's not going to happen. Well, we have enough to do FPUC all the way to December. We have enough to do some hazard pay. We have enough to do some rent. We have enough for airlines for $20 billion. I mean, $20 billion is as much as nothing. I mean, when we're talking about $800 billion, $20 billion is like nothing. There's enough for leisure and hospitality. So this is incredibly great news. And what's incredibly great news is that your efforts are working. So with that, let me turn to some of your incredible questions and comments from yesterday, and let's see if there's some issues that need to be addressed. Remember, these are comments before the latest rises of the stimulus offer from Mnuchin and Trump in the last 24 hours. This is 2 offers ago. I mean, that's how far these things have progressed. Jennifer, President Trump, please do executive order. DJ Frankie G, people acting like people aren't struggling. That's the false narrative, and I'm not covering that on this channel. That's Larry. That's Larry and his fake narrative. And actually, Larry was called out on CNBC this morning. If you missed it, they said that we're not going to keep on quoting his fake economic information. This is his former employer. Marvin B. America burns while Pelosi fiddles. Mike. Wolf Blitzer going to put her in headlock. Melinda, why don't Trump override her and put the money out now? Amen. Kelly Hunks, she definitely let all her business show with Wolf. Desi, I thought Nutty Nancy was going to have a stroke on CNN. Rick, so these are a lot of comments to Nancy and Wolf over, this was because these are comments 20 hours ago. No money, no vote. Demetria, let's just charge Pelosi for treason. Derek, the question, Steve Mnuchin, is when will we get the stimulus check? Heaven Wheeler, good afternoon, LA and Purple Power family. Janice Brown, I'm just mad over this. We should have had this months ago. Amen. Vicky DeVire, this pays to be held up to our stimulus. What's important, and Boy, there was a lot of comments yesterday. What's important to understand as we sit here this afternoon is the following. Trump is playing a very good hand in the narrative, because what the narrative was 24 hours ago and all this morning, which I explained to you before he made these comments, was that Nancy Pelosi was going to hold up your stimulus relief to get it out to you in March of next year. We now understood this. We understood this from the Wolf Blitzer interview. We understood because I've been saying this for upwards of a week. But now Main Street America understands it because of the CNN interview. So what Mnuchin is now trying to do with Trump, what Trump is trying to do with Mnuchin, is he's trying to say, hey, I'm willing to go very high and do a deal $2 trillion. And she doesn't want to do a deal $2 trillion. That shows that she just wants to protect a person to get him a win for the presidency. And ultimately, you Americans should decide whether or not senators should lose their seats because of that, and whether I should lose the presidency because someone else is not willing to give you $2 trillion. It's a very good play. It plays very well, but ultimately, we're not here to play games. We're not here to elect one person or not elect another person. We're here to get stimulus. So keep your pressure on Purple Power, executive orders for the president, and keep the pressure on for seats for stimulus, and Mnuchin, go higher, get it done. Coming up next are 3 broadcasts which you really have to tune into. The first one continues this with checks and gives you why Wall Street and Walmart is now urging America to get a stimulus deal done right away. The third video right after that, 30 minutes after that, explains to you how much more you'll be getting on SSDI, SSI starting right away, and how much tax rebates you could get under the Biden administration. And the last one goes over Pelosi versus Mnuchin and major developments as well. Go to the Feathers channel, subscribe, because no one has you more up to date in a given day. This channel is now the most watched and the widest viewed financial channel for a reason. 5 hours of programming every day starting at 3 a.m. Pacific Standard Time and going all the way until 7 o'clock at night. Incredible. All the twists and turns. Also like this video. As always, coming up next is that big development and continuation of checks. Stay tuned for that. As always, stay informed, stay smiling, and stay of LA for more.